You don't have to stop playing Pokemon. This was mostly to bring you into the video, but while I've captivated your attention, why don't I tell you about some video games that I think are cool? Hello, my fellow travelers, adventurers, and scholars. While it is impossible, nay, possibly idiotic, to assume anyone could take down the ancient slumbering money beast that is Pokemon, except for its own fat butt, I've been stumbling upon some games that are heavily inspired by the success and the faults of our most ancient monster taming series. And I do mean inspired, because the fact is, if you weren't born in the 90s, you may in fact not know, before Pokemon's rise into its monetary obesity, there were plenty of games that wanted to either copy or challenge Game Freak for the boom in the genre that they themselves created. But either through having nothing interesting to stand themselves out, different brands just not being able to stick around regardless of the merit of their game, or, you know, business politics, they found the secret formula and only really needed to add more monsters, locations, and the occasional gimmick to find success. But as we get older, we may feel that a lot has been lost for the sake of moving forward. For my part, I miss the more pixel art style. It makes sense why we moved into 3D as the generations went on, but I feel that there's something charming that just sparks the imagination versus seeing the same old, distracting idle animations in solid form. I can forgive that a model in sprite form in a game doesn't really do a whole heck of a lot because the animation department is where you really get to see the sprite work shine. Attacks, moves, and just little cinematics are more acceptable that it's lower scale and yet more interesting what they pull off with it. Versus a 3D model that has had the technology to do something fantastic, especially with its bigger moves, and it just doesn't. And it's way easier to notice the flaws. Add on top of that, if you've been in the Pokemon fandom for a while, you've definitely run into a Nuzlocke, a fan-made difficulty mode with multiple different rules and self-made challenges to make a child's game feel a little more challenging and spark a little bit more of that excitement that you got when you yourself were a child. Except, you know, now the Pokemon die. So here we are, my friends. Thanks to other content creators like Ed the Gym Leader, I was able to find at least a few monster taming games that really thrive with me. 2 of them, which you can play rather immediately, and I'm loving, and a third that is in production, already funded on Kickstarter, and is going to have so much anime memery made about it. Keep in mind this video isn't to be seen as a comprehensive guide to any of these 3 titles. 1, because I don't want to ruin any of the surprises or aspects of the game that you might find more engaging with if you yourself are discovering them. Also, 2nd, it's my video and I don't want to get something horribly wrong or be expected to know everything, especially for the game that hasn't come out yet. Without further ado, Beastie Ball. This indie title leans more into taking cute animal monster buddies rather than the more literal taming of monsters, mostly because they all want to play volleyball. Yes, friends, it's that kind of game. I'm not even making a joke, everyone's making these references, and the dev team are not being subtle. For you see, you have your expected RPG tactics of support, defense, attack, but you also have the power of shipping. It's more nuanced and a little less cringe than I'm making it out to be. So far, certain combinations of creatures earn friendships, rivalries, or romance. And it's implied, even through the demo that I played, that those different relationships give different team-up attacks. It's creature tamer duel battles where you either score points or you send the other team into Concussion Junction. We've also been given the hint that the creatures are going to get to evolve. Really, so far, my only complaint is that while all the characters don't have the conventional beauty standard and it makes them look really good, I don't know, man, I feel like something's wrong with our character. Why is their ass also their legs? I don't like this. Now, let's go into something that's a little bit closer to what Pokemon is. Koromon. I love this game. Out of the 3 of these titles, this one is my personal favorite. The sprite work, the availability to control the aspects of the game, from the prices, to the catch rates, to limitation of catch rates, to randomization of the catches, and overall, just a plethora of Nuzlocke challenge rules. This is the game that was made for that niche of Pokemon fans that wanted a lot of customization and a lot of tinkering with making their own fun game. It's at its core a good solo experience, but allowing you to fiddle with the game in-engine is something that no other Pokemon-like game has done or tries. The closest one is another title called Nexomon, specifically the second of the series, a third one coming down further the pipeline. The reason I don't have Nexomon on this list is because, while it's good, I don't care for the artwork as much. The story's a little bit too of that meta, self-aware, poke fun of self thing, rather than just enjoying what it is, and I've grown very tired of those storylines. But the biggest one is that you don't unlock these customization tools until after you beat the game at its base. I see the merit in that. I don't care for that. But there is a lot more that makes Koromon just fantastically fun, other than just being a niche Pokemon-inspired game. When the Koromon level up, they get these random allocated stats based on essentially what their character is good at. Unlike Pokemon where natures and EVs and IVs can affect different stats, and while it can be fun to deep dive those mechanics, I once again personally find them tedious and unnecessary. Which is also why I tip my hat at more current Pokemon games that make that to where that's less of a problem. No, in Koromon, each individual creature in line of evolution has their own focus of which stats get boosted naturally. Then you have a second experience bar that's based on the Koromon's potential. This lets your Koromon tap into additional stat boosts wherever you, the player, choose to put them. You can see what kind of stats your Koromon naturally is able to upgrade, and you can choose to hyper-focus those stats, or put a couple of points into HP, or the skill points that allow you to actually activate your abilities, or speed or defense, anything that's just lacking that you personally feel your Koromon needs to do better. Different Koromon have potential rankings that make them a different color and make them more powerful, and more often you're able to tap into the potential. But in general, they're not necessary to beat the game. They're just a fun rarity situation that gives you a more powerful Koromon from the get-go. But again, you can totally run without any perfects and still have a good time with what you're given. Its base story is good, the mechanics are solid, and it fills a niche that no Pokemon game is ever going to try to fill, understandably so. But it's also a niche that I don't think any of its competition has really tried to. And now for something completely different. You like Persona? You like the fusion dance from Dragon Ball, Steven Universe, and anything related to anime? Do you know of a time that existed before the 2000s? Welcome to Cassette Beasts. This one is honestly insane, and I can't go too much into any of the one aspects of them, otherwise we'll be doing a deep dive video, and I will be spoiling a lot. So, you wake up on a beach, not knowing where you are, and not having any major memories of who you were before arriving. You meet the locals, who give you the tools of the trade, a cassette player, and find that you're not really able to capture the beasts, but copy them, turn into them, alter them, remix them, take different stickers off of one or all of them, and then move different abilities around, making a very particular team at your leisure. And on top of all of that, as you make friends with the different NPCs of the game by side questing and main storyline looking, you will get to fuse them, fighting major battles and doing some insane, I'm just gonna be honest, horror movie or horror show-like antics, all mixed into everyone just trying to survive in a world that absolutely makes no sense. Again, there's so much here that it's gonna be hard to say anything without possibly spoiling you, so I'm really trying to get the main basics. The sprite work, as you can tell, great. The animations, love the entire concept of everything being related to like this cassette fuzzy era of technology. The game really wants you to capture at least one of every kind of creature, even if you're never gonna use them in battle, because you get the aspects of flying, running quickly, or swimming in the overworld. This really has incentive to record them all. Cassette Beasts, while it's not my favorite of the three, is close to that title purely because it's so ambitious and different from what anything like this could be, where it's still so lighthearted and friendly, and then can flip on a dime and be really scary and kind of intense. It's a game that I feel like, if it wasn't able to show its own concept or really have good trailers, I think it would be really hard to sell anyone on this game on merit or discussion alone, which is why I'm really glad I'm able to show you both footage I've recorded and footage that I got off the internet. In the end, I do find that this title probably won't be everyone's cup of tea. It's not so far off the beaten path, but it's still doing its own thing, and I think that's worth of merit, and it's doing it really well. Plus, if you're like me and you like Power Rangers and the 4th season of Digimon, this is gonna hit all the right buttons, personally. And that's all of them. I'm happy to hear from everyone here in the comments below what their preferred creature taming game is, especially if it's not one I've mentioned, what parts of the games I have listed you're most excited for, or what parts did I not cover that you really think are worth saying. And if you want to watch me play these games when they come out, or in sometime in the near future, I stream on Twitch, and I plan on making some YouTube shorts and TikTok shorts, breaking up those Twitch streams to a more fun little bite-sized chunk. Thanks for letting me take the time to gush about silly monster games with you. Have a good remainder of your day, and I'll see you guys next time when I call out the Monster Hunter community for being a bunch of cowards.